Now, the Bram Weinstein Show on Washington's new home for sports, ESPN 630.
Hey, baby. Say, baby. Say, baby. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Let me ask you this on air, because I forgot to ask you off air. Is Mark Moseley coming on the show today?
Yeah, 325.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't tell you that?
No.
Oh, my bad.
Mark, we have a very packed show. As you know, I don't do a ton of guests, but it's just worked out this way today.
What is this, Super Bowl week?
I don't know. Mark Moseley is coming on because he's getting the Founders Award from the DC Touchdown Club tonight. So he's going to come on and join us at 325, and we'll talk about that honor and, of course, the Commanders a little bit. Nicole Barnhart, Ageless Wonder of the Washington Spirit, is going to join us at 3:45 to talk about a really cool initiative that I almost can't believe we're talking about. They're making goalie jerseys to sell to fans. Yeah. And apparently that's a first.
Correct. Yeah,
That's a first.
Yeah, you haven't been able to get goalie jerseys in the NWSL, and the Spirit are the ones doing
it. The Spirit have a major match tomorrow against Gotham FC, who is the defending champs, and the Spirit are 3-1 this year, so they're off to a really good start.
They're the super team.
Yeah. So we're going to go check that out, 3:45. John Keim is going to join us, 4 o'clock, to preview the draft, which is getting more interesting by the moment. I'll get into it in a moment.
Good God.
And the legendary Gary Williams is going to join us at 4:25, also being honored by the DC Touchdown Club tonight for part of their Circle of Legends. Obviously has no connection to football, but he's going to be honored tonight. I'm going to the dinner tonight for the DC Touchdown Club. And Gary's going to come on, so we'll talk about all things that are going on in college basketball and all of that stuff. But let's start with the news of the day. And I mentioned this late because people were like texting me about it, and I didn't see it. And I only kind of mentioned it right at the end yesterday. That people are texting me that the betting lines of Jayden Daniels or Drake May going to the Commanders changed dramatically yesterday.
Yep.
And part of it was Adam Peters said out loud, the one piece of news that he said was, we aren't trading out. He didn't say definitively, but he said it about as close to definitively as you could.
That's right.
We're very comfortable here. We don't see a scenario by which we would trade out of this.
That's right. Yep.
Okay. Now, does that scenario change if the number 2 pick, the person they want, doesn't want to come here for any variety of reasons?
Right.
And we don't know who. And so all of a sudden they're saying we're not trading out of number 2. And we're getting a lot of smoke that the guy that most of us believe would be at number 2, Jayden Daniels, or the odds-on favorite to be the number 2, all of a sudden is signaling he's not pleased.
Right.
With things.
Yes. Yeah.
In many different ways. And so, I said this the other day, I go, you know what? Adam Schefter going from go buy your jerseys to, I was just kidding, guys. I didn't really mean that. You weren't. Right? You weren't kidding.
Right.
This is, you talk to everybody. You talk to the agents. You talk to the teams. You knew what was probably going to happen. Until it happens, it hasn't happened.
That's right.
But But you knew what was probably going to happen, which fell in line with what everybody is saying. I don't know how they're going to pick anybody but him because he's just kind of too good to turn down.
That's right. You have guys saying, some pundits like Louis Riddick saying, I'd pick him over Caleb, or you have other guys going, he'd be a number 1 pick in any other draft.
I've been saying this for 8 weeks now. I go, my film study goes, without knowing either one of them, I don't know how you wouldn't pick Jayden Daniels, because just off of the film alone and knowing how much he's grown as a player, you know, with the one caveat of if you think it's a big deal that one's 21 and one's 24, you know, then I guess you would favor May because you get a few years younger, but everyone keeps talking about how he needs more time to become whatever ceiling he's going to reach, but Jayden's more ready to play now. I've never totally bought into that as being the reason that you would go in a different in one direction or the other, because I think they're both very, very good prospects, very different prospects, but very good ones.
Sure.
But like just watching them on film, I go, I don't know how you wouldn't come to the conclusion that Jayden Daniels is the guy, short of red flags about him, which I haven't heard a single thing about either one of them, that there's any kind. And that's why I think this got really hard. Like, neither one of them, you're going, I don't know what kind of guy we're getting here. Like, everyone says great things about both of them with their character, their work ethic, their desire to be really good, their lineage, all that stuff. Like, everything is there. And then you go watch them on film, and they're both very, very, very good prospects, very different prospects, but very, very good prospects. And then you watch Daniels and you watch his running ability and you go, I don't know how you're going to turn that down. He's going to be a top 5, athletic quarterback to start with, and he's not one that features run first, pass second. He's pass first, run second, but when he runs, he can be devastating. And I just don't know how you're going to turn that down. And then over the last, few days, the wind's been changing.
Yep.
And I follow the wind very closely. Daniel Jeremiah, who also is very clued in.
Yep.
So you have to take some of the pundits, you have to take what they're saying with a grain of salt sometimes. But when you get to the ones that are really, really tuned in, like Schefter and Jeremiah, you have to listen closely to what they're saying, because it isn't just about who they think is the best prospect. It's what they're hearing.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Mel
Kiper, for years, who was really, really clued in with a lot of the GMs around the league, he would put out these mock drafts, and he would always do this. I thought it was really smart. He said, this is my big board. This is the order of the people I would think in order of how I would rank them as prospects.
That's right.
But here's how I think they're actually going to be drafted. And the mock draft was based on his conversations, and what teams really think about this position or this player or what they might actually do, even if it doesn't fall directly on his big board. And that's what I think happened here. One was Schefter. I think the wind started blowing that don't think this is a done deal, not necessarily because the Commanders may not want him, but something's just kind of off here from Daniel's side. That's how I kind of read it. And then Daniel Jeremiah does his press conference or his conference call with all the reporters who want to talk to him about his mock draft. And he's on the NFL Network's coverage, and he's clued in.
Yep.
And he said, everything I felt, if it's up to me, I'd pick Jayden Daniels. However, I think they're going to pick Drake May.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And when he said that, I know what he meant by that. It's, if you watch the film, you're going to come to the conclusion the guy from LSU is the right pick. But if you know everything you know about the people who are making the decisions and all the things that are going behind the curtain, as opposed to just watching the film, I think it's 50-50, and it actually might be more likely that they go with May.
Right.
Then comes the extremely controversial 30 visit, where the Commanders did what turned out not to be all that unusual, but was portrayed as unusual.
That's right.
That they had a group of players in, and they took them all out together. And they went and did Topgolf together. And then they came back to the facility, and they had their meetings. And Jayden's agent is kind of falling in line with what Florio started openly complaining about, that they felt that this was a little out of line to do with quarterbacks. That, okay, if it's a bunch of linemen, but not in this case, you need to treat them differently. And their agents seem to kind of co-sign that, which I was talking about yesterday going, I don't know what your motivation is for doing that. I actually don't think it's a good idea to weigh in. Let Florio say it if you want to put it out into the ecosystem. But to then co-sign, I kind of don't understand it either. I want to know what the motivation is. Is it he just mouthed off in a way that isn't beneficial to his client? Or does his client really actually want that out there, that there are some things about number 2 Washington that we're not comfortable with?
Right.
And I don't know which one it is. Schefter then goes on McAfee today and says his agents weren't entirely comfortable with the way that it was. Then one of the agents, not the one who co-signed the original Florio stuff, wrote fake news on a tweet over that, trying to dispel this, that he has a problem being the number 2 overall pick to Washington.
Yep.
In the meantime, the betting lines are dropping significantly because the wind is blowing in a different direction now. And the betting, the books don't want to get caught with their pants down, giving 5-1 on Drake May if he is the 2nd overall pick. And that's why that's important just to watch it, because whatever they're hearing, they stand to lose the money because you're allowed to bet on this. And all of a sudden, they're going, whoa, 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 whoa.
That's right.
We need to drop this line almost 50-50 even between the two of them because we're not as confident as we were about which direction they're going to go.
Yep.
So that's where we stand today. Then you'll see things from Schefter going on other things saying, the Raiders really love him, and the Raiders would really like to get him, And his people and he have kind of hinted they'd love to go to Las Vegas if they could work that out. But the pick that they have is not particularly enticing for a draft partnership because the Commanders and the Patriots also need quarterbacks and don't want to trade out, which means Jayden Daniels would have to somehow get to number 4.
Yep.
And then Arizona goes, okay,
what's the
Vegas,
haul? Yeah.
What are we going to get? Which means that path is Caleb goes 1, Drake goes 2, JJ goes 3 to the Patriots, and then Jayden Daniels is up for auction from the Cardinals, who don't need a quarterback.
That's right.
And suddenly then the Raiders or the Vikings, whoever, could go talk to them, and they'd be a willing participant to go do it because they're going to get the haul, and they'll happily take it.
Yep.
The top 3 teams I don't think are, with the exception of New England, who said, we're open for business for this, but did a caveat of, we are comfortable taking one of these quarterbacks.
Basically what it was.
Come correct. And also, we are comfortable, meaning they do like one of these two. And if one of those two happens to be the one that Washington doesn't take, it sounds like they would just take him. So the Raiders, by Peter's own admission, isn't going to get to number 2. They'd have to get to number 3. The Patriots are saying we're willing to talk about it, but they'd have to not like Jayden Daniels, and he'd have to be available. The smoke is leaning towards Drake May being selected here. And I will go back to, like, the part about the agents weighing in and the other part about they weren't particularly pleased about this. My particular feeling about it is, if you have that much of an issue going to a visit to a team where you were involved with other draftees to go out on just a fun event to see how you would interact with other, contemporaries, I don't know why you're upset about that.
Yeah. I get the vibe of, are you mad that, like, I'm asking the question here because we also don't know really what happened.
I didn't see Drake May's agents or J.J. McCarthy's agents or Michael Penix's agents all come out and say, yeah, that was crazy.
Right. And
none of them said that.
Right. My take is, are you mad that they didn't woo you? Like they weren't taking you around town? Like,
convince me to come here is the vibe I got.
Right. And it's like, you haven't played it down yet. I mean, I don't know if you could pull that.
Yeah, exactly. And also, like, wait a minute, because it gives off this vibe of, oh, you're the special. Right. And so is that how it's going to be when you come here?
Right, exactly.
So you've decided already you're RG3.
Right, correct.
And, I think this is why I'm like, I don't know why the agents did this, because that's the wrong message to send to anybody. As good as he is, it's the wrong message to send to somebody and say, you really should have just rolled out the red carpet and made it about me, because I don't understand why I would have to go through, I don't know, a team bonding event.
Right.
Are you going to be part of the team or not? Because when you show up here, you're going to be part of a locker room, just like anywhere else you've been. And to give off the impression that you are the end-all, be-all and everybody else is just members of the team, I don't think it's the impression that you want to give, not just to us, to anybody. Honestly.
Yeah, that's right.
To anybody. But again, I go back to, I don't know what his motivations were. And it's possible that this agent just made a dumb tweet.
Sure. Right. No, it's very possible.
Very possible. And Jayden is going to have to, whoever he gets drafted to, is going to have to clear that up very quickly and be like, no, I'm a team guy. Because it came off as, oh, you need to be treated very, very special. And I don't know if that's in the best interest of him. And nor did he didn't co-sign those tweets.
Right.
His agent did.
His agent did.
That's why I don't want to assign this to him. I also don't, and I want to be clear here, I don't think this means the Commanders won't select him
That's
second
right, too.
at all.
Absolutely.
They may come to the conclusion of he is the right quarterback for us and he is the player that we want. And over the next few days, they can have a conversation with his agent and make sure everybody's on the same page, and it's just no big deal.
Right.
But the wind is starting to blow in a very different direction. And let's just say for a second, and this is the other mistake that they've made, because the Commanders have been beyond tight-lipped about what they're going to do. Mm-hmm. Nobody knows. Right. Like, nobody knows. And I'm at, like, it's 50-50 now. I think they're taking one of the two, but I think it's 50-50 now. It was always, to me, 60-40, 70-30. It's going to be Daniels, just because I think he's the better, more refined prospect right now, and it's going to be hard to turn down that athleticism. It's something that May doesn't have. Like, it's just, it's impossible to replicate that. You know, he's a 101. And so it's hard to, like, turn that down. But now, like, it's out there that he maybe doesn't want to be in a certain place. This is what people were saying about Caleb Williams. Does he really want to be in Chicago?
Right.
And that's what's happening today. Does he really want to be there? And he and his people, they've caused a mess. And if he does want to be the number 2 overall pick, because we're not moving out of it, he needs to make that very clear to the people here in Washington. He needs to make that very clear. And that onus is on him to do that, because I'm of the Tomlin camp. There ain't no hostages here. Well, we're not selecting you against your will. Like, that's not happening.
With him, though, what's actually, I mean, and once again, I'm saying this all circumstantially if it's true, because we don't know if it's true or not. But the way Carlin was talking about it before we came on the air was apparently it's a Raiders connection. That it's because Antonio Pierce recruited him at Arizona State, and he went out of his way to thank Pierce and thank Herm Edwards when he accepted the Heisman. That's where he wants to go. And then Carlin was with a fill-in host today, but he said he was in the locker room after the Raiders beat the Chiefs, and that there was Jayden Daniels in the Raiders locker room after they won. And so what I'm getting at, though, is there's a difference here. There's a difference of somebody saying, I don't want to go to that franchise, to saying, I want to go to that franchise.
I'd like to if I could. It's just a little kind of impossible because of where they're picking.
That's ridiculous. We can't have that happening in the NFL in the first round of the draft. We can't have quarterbacks picking the team they want to go to.
Well, I mean, but it's happened before.
No, but what I'm getting,
Eli Manning did it.
Right,
but they chose where they wanted to go.
I mean,
they did. They got picked by the Chargers. He said he wasn't going to go there, and they worked out a deal with the Giants, which is where he wanted to go. And it worked out for the Chargers, too. They got Phillip Rivers out of the whole thing. So it's not like they did poorly there. But he did do that.
But you need 2 to tango. You need to get your quarterback regardless. Like, that's where it's...
The problem here is the Raiders don't pick 4th.
Yeah, right.
And so that's why, like, I think when Peter says, I don't see a scenario by which you trade. If you came to us and said, I really want to go to Vegas, well, they can't give us our solution to get our quarterback. They pick too low.
Yeah. I almost
Unless somehow the Patriots are involved in a 3-way deal where we only move to number 3 somehow.
Right,
but, like, I don't even know how that would be the case.
Yeah, I don't understand how that would happen either. It's almost like, too, it's almost like Peters has heard this, and that was why the one piece of news that came out yesterday was, we're here. We're staying here. We're not trading this
Made
pick.
it clear.
Yeah, exactly.
It was the one thing he cleared up and made it very clear.
We knew it right away.
Yeah. It was actually I said it was semi-surprising because they've said nothing. Mm-hmm. They've said nothing. And he just made it clear we're not moving out of 2.
It was Wall Street. We're not effing leaving.
Yeah, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving.
That's exactly what happened.
So I don't, like, again.
Red Wolves of Wall Street.
Red Wolves of Wall Street. 6 days away. I don't know what they're going to do, but I do think over the next few days, the Jayden Daniels element of it is going to clarify itself.
Yes.
In the same way. Okay, so going into the combine, the big thing for Caleb Williams was, you need to say that you want to go to Chicago because everybody is saying that you don't secretly, that you don't. You've never said it, but you haven't addressed it. And your dad had said things like, we'll stay here if the right team doesn't have the right pick. And then there was all this, I don't know if he wants to play there. And then people were going at him going, they haven't developed a quarterback. Why would he go there? And all that stuff. And he needed to clarify it. And he did. Yeah. He said, I want to be the number 1 pick. And we're like, the Bears have the number 1 pick. And he went, I want to be the number 1 pick. And as you've noticed, there has been not a shred of doubt of who's going to be picked number 1 really since that moment. The Bears didn't even visit with these other people. They know what's going to happen. And he clearly is okay with it and wants to go there and be their quarterback. And that's what's going to happen. Number 2, at this point, while you can't settle it, like, the Bears have the first pick, so they could say whatever they want now.
Right.
We can't say anything because if the Bears, for some reason, change their mind, then all of a sudden we can't stand by whatever we say we're going to do. But we're close to that. And that's why now the pivot point is Jayden Daniels and his agents need to clarify sooner rather than later, publicly, that they'd actually like to be the number 2 overall pick.
Right.
Because there's too much out there now, and some of it by their own fault, by co-signing those tweets saying, yeah, that was weird doing that, which I thought was, what a ridiculous thing to say.
I agree. Yeah.
We're not the only team that does this. And I'm sorry, but like, I want guys that want to be part of it. I want him to be great, and I think he is a special player, but I want somebody who's going to come in here and want to lead a team and be part of a team. And if we're getting off on this, like it's the wrong foot to get off on, to be like, I should have been treated differently before you ever drafted me.
Yeah.
Well, that's not a message you want to send. Intentionally or unintentionally is not what you want to send to anybody.
That's right.
So we'll see. And I bet over the next few days, this is going to get clear one way or the other.
Well, yeah, because
you're going to hear Schefter either reporting he doesn't want to go there, or he's going to say that was not intended. They didn't mean it that way, and it's very likely he could still be the number 2 overall pick. And that's going to happen in the next couple of days.
I'm sure even Peters and company are going, bro, you couldn't do this for the 3 months leading up to this thing? You had to decide Friday, April 19th, or, earlier this week that all of a sudden this wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here?
We offended you by taking you and some of your draft mates to Topgolf? That offended you?
Right.
How did that offend you? What about when we want to do movie night with the team? You're not going to like that?
I'm sorry. I meant to make this comparison early. It reminds me of early career Carson Wentz. I bet you if Carson Wentz could talk to him right now, he would do the same thing. You go, dude, don't do this. Be a team player. Don't try to be the selfish guy.
No.
I got traded 3 times because of it, or 2 times because of it.
And he may not be that way, and his agent may have done a disservice to him.
Sure.
And that's why it needs to be clear. That's why I said the agent shouldn't have done this, because he's speaking on his behalf, even if Jayden Daniels is like, I don't feel that way.
Right.
And he's going to need to clear that up.
Yeah.
All right, Mark Moseley's going to join us next. Bram Watch the Show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. One of my favorite events of the sporting calendar is happening tonight. The DC Touchdown Club, through their primary sponsor, the Military Bowl, are going to hold their awards dinner tonight. They have an incredible slate of honorees, including Gary Williams, the legendary coach at the University of Maryland, who's going to go in their Circle of Legends. He's going to join us in about 1 hour. Their College Player of the Year award is going to go to Talia Tungvailoa from Maryland. Their Pro Player of the Year is Jawan Bentley, who plays for the Patriots now, but was one of the best Maryland high school players back about 7-8 years ago. Their Career Achievement Award is going to go to Brian Mitchell, one of the greatest return men in the history of the NFL, of course, famous Redskin. And the Founders Award is going to go to the only kicker in NFL history who has won an MVP award, the one and only Mark Moseley, who joins us now. Hey, Mark, how are you? Thanks for coming on today.
I'm well, thank you, Bram. It's good to be here.
What is an award?
I'm driving right now.
No worries.
I'm actually driving into the function for tonight because I live way out in the Shenandoah Valley. So so if I lose you or something, hopefully I won't. But hopefully we'll have a good conversation here.
No worries. What does an award like this mean to you?
Well, it's great to be honored, really, for anything. But when they honor you for your lifetime achievements and the things that you've done outside of your original sport, that means a lot. It means probably more so than any other award that you could get. Anytime you're recognized for your willingness to give back to the community, I think it's a well worthwhile, and I'm looking forward to it.
Can you talk a little bit about that? What you mean by the work that you're doing outside of obviously your great football career?
Well, I've always involved myself. I was involved with the Ronald McDonald House from the very beginning, way back in 1975, I think it was, when I went on a board that was bringing the Ronald McDonald House to the Washington D.C. area, and we built the first Ronald McDonald House down in D.C. and it's still functioning now. They have a whole bunch of Ronald McDonald Houses around the D.C. area. And but I was very instrumental in getting that started, and then started the rally around the Redskins. I don't know if you remember that or not.
Yeah.
We had a big auction every year. My wife and I started that, and we were able to raise money to help support the Ronald McDonald House. And then I had the tournament that I had for years that honored the Ronald McDonald House. So it's I've been involved in that, and that's just one of the projects that I've been involved in over the year. I've been involved with Special Love for years, raising money for them to help kids with cancer. And there's very little in the area that I haven't at one time or another been supportive of and been involved with.
Mark, let me talk to you about the team a little bit for a moment. Obviously, you're a big part of the glory era of the Washington Redskins, and obviously a lot has changed over the last year. How are you kind of viewing the organization moving forward now?
Well, you're right about one thing. It's a huge change, and it was something that was really needed badly. I think Dan Snyder had lost the confidence in the fans, and there was just no way of getting out of that hole. And we needed new ownership to come in here and turn things around, bring in new bodies, bring in new concepts, new ideas. They've done a huge amount to the stadium during the off season. They've really put a lot of time and effort and money into fixing up the stadium, getting it ready for the fans. Their mentioning to me at the very beginning was, we want to make this fan fun. And like it used to be, most of the owners are from the Washington, D.C. area, and they were involved with the team back when we were winning, and they want to bring that back. They want to bring that excitement and emotion and love of the game back to the fans. And I'm very, very pleased with what I'm seeing. The owners have done a great job of really keeping it kind of to themselves, because they want to, when the season does start, they want to break it out in a big way and really awe the fans. And I think the fans are going to be excited. I think we've got new players coming in, both offensively and defensively. We've got the draft coming up next week. And it's going to be, we've got the second pick in the draft, and we've got a lot of other picks in this draft. So I think we're on our way to starting to rebuild and bring back that excitement and the emotion of winning and the emotion of the players. I just hope that the new coaching staff will continue to encourage the players to get involved in the community. That was the great thing that George Allen and Joe Gibbs and Jack Pardee really pushed us older guys when we were here back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. They really pushed us to get involved. But now, keep in mind, too, we were here for a lot longer than most of the players. Our careers, I was here for 12, 13 years. Most of the players today they're here for 3 or 4 years, and then they move on with the money. So it's a big difference. But still, the involvement of the players in the community is very, very, very important. And I think it's the encouragement that I try to give is for those young players to get involved in something. Don't just put your name on something, but physically get involved with the people, with the fans, with the community and the efforts that you're putting out there.
Mark, I want to ask you, as a prominent veteran of the organization, through the years, with all the changes, all the things that were happening with the previous ownership, then, of course, the change of the name and a little bit of the branding along the way, there was a number of the legends from your era that had kind of talked openly about losing a connection to the team. I wonder if you felt the same way, and if you did, if it's being rekindled at all as all this change is happening now.
Yeah, it was happening. It was there. There were a lot of the alumni who felt really ostracized out of the team and not being a part of it. Even with our homecoming and the players coming back, they still felt like they just weren't really appreciated. And I think the new ownership has really gone out of their way to try to change that. I was the president of our Redskins alumni for years. I just gave it up here recently. And so I've been involved with a lot of the stuff that goes on. And I do know that the players were very, very disappointed in the way they were being treated. They just didn't feel appreciated. They didn't feel like what they did and the blood and tears that they gave to the team really amounted to anything after all these years. But I think the fans do. And I think that's where one of the reasons why I decided when I retired to stay here in Washington was because of the fans. This area has the greatest fans, I think, in the league, and I think we're we're looking forward to getting back to that same feeling of excitement for the fans and the players.
One other local question for you. As things matriculate through politics and the possibility of RFK coming back, have you kind of thought about that, what it would mean for the team to have their stadium back at that site again?
Oh, it would be phenomenal, really. I just hope that there's some way they could it off. If they can't, it's going to be disappointing, because I think that's what the fans are looking for. When they took the name away, that was a huge, huge slap in the face to the fans and to the former players and to the area here. I think the whole area was very, very disappointed that they gave it up. And, there's a lot of sentiment right now of bringing it back, trying to get the name back again. But I don't know that that's going to be possible. But I do know that bringing it back to the site at RFK, putting a new face on it, building something new there, could be huge for the organization itself and for the fans.
All right. I'll let you go on one, and this is just nerd football question, but I want to lean on your expertise. As you know, the NFL's changing the kickoff rules. As a kicker, how would you be thinking about dealing with what will be a very new version of an NFL kickoff?
Well, the kickers are not going to be able to just kick it out of the end zone every time anymore, because the coaching staffs are going to want to get the ball up. If you remember, we led the league almost every year in kickoff coverage back when I was kicking off, because I kicked the ball so high that they had to return it. And we always would be inside the 20 to 15-yard line when they caught the football, and they had to bring it back because I tried to keep it inside the playing field, not in the end zone. And I think that's what's going to happen. But I do agree that it's going to probably cut down on some of the injuries that we've had. If you remember back in the old days, we used to have the wedge busters. We had the Rusty Tillmans and the Bob Brunets and guys like that would run down as hard as they could and just throw their bodies in midair. As a matter of fact, I'll never forget, he ever played for the Redskins, he was busting the wedge, and he left the ground and hit in midair with his whole body, and he hit his eye lobe, busted his eye lobe underneath his eye.
Well,
but that was on a kickoff, and it's the contact on a kickoff is tremendous.
Mark, thanks so much for coming on today. Congratulations on the Founders Award tonight from the DC Touchdown Club. I look forward to seeing you at the reception tonight. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you, Bram. I appreciate it.
All right,
Have a good day.
that's
see you tonight.
All right, see you tonight. That's Mark Moseley, the 1981 NFL MVP, made 20 of 21 field goals that year, set what was a record 95.2% of his kicks, hit a couple of field goals in what was the Redskins' first Super Bowl victory back against the Dolphins. Of course, they went back, and that one didn't go so well against the Raiders.
That's correct, yes.
Yeah. Thank Mark for his time. I look forward to seeing him tonight. Gary Williams, in less than an hour, is also going to be honored tonight. He's going to join us as well. All right, we have a packed show, so I want to get to the Capitals here with you for a minute.
Yeah.
Nicole Barnhart from the Spirit's going to join us in the next segment. Then Keim's going to join us. I'm going to run out of time. I got to talk about the Capitals here a little bit. All right, so we're here, a couple days away from Game 1. Puck drops 3 o'clock Sunday up Madison Square Garden. The rest of the schedule's already been put out for the first round series. What's important to you? What do you think? I mean, outside of, I've been telling all my Rangers friends, you're dealing with the zombie caps. Like, good luck with this, because like you can't kill these guys, and you're a better team. But good luck, good luck with this. So, what do you think's important this weekend?
The most important number that you're going to find in this whole entire series is the number 3. The Capitals cannot let in more than 3 goals. That's pretty much the number that is what I call their death number. They can't score more than 3 most games. So
I don't even think they're really trying to anymore either. They seem to play a defensive style that lends to they don't want to have these major events occur.
That's right. So you can let 1 in, you can let 2 in, and as soon as you let 3 in, it's tough sledding, because these Capitals, to score 4 goals is to ask a lot from them right now. And 4 goals in the playoffs is a lot, to be completely honest here. That's key number 1. So Don't make the dumb mistakes that you were making earlier in the season. Play really smart. Take the chances where you can, but just play smart and don't open up the game at all against the Rangers. And granted, that's how they played, so they just need to keep playing how they played the last 3 games. The other one's Charlie Lindgren. Lindgren's going to have to steal games if they're going to win this series, so he has to be the better goaltender on some nights than Shesterkin. And here's the funny part, too, with the Rangers. Their backup goalie is Jonathan Quick. He's still in the league, and he's having an amazing year with them, so much so that everyone's kind of saying he's kind of resurging as a starting goaltender. So you not only have to be better, you even if you somehow figure out Shesterkin, might have to deal with him at some point too. But low scoring, play smart hockey. You're going to need Lindgren to score, to steal a game or two. And that's the key to the series, honestly, if they want to win this thing. I think this thing goes long. I think it goes like 6 games. I don't think the Caps go quietly. They are the zombie Caps for a reason. And so,
no. I don't think that they crawled into the playoffs and got lucky. I think that they were super smart and they
fought their guts out.
Their guts out. Yeah. They're here. They clearly really like each other. The chemistry is off the charts right now. They're playing for each other. They're blocking shots at crazy clips. They're very aggressive. I don't think it's going to be easy at all. I don't think they're the better team, but I don't think this is going to be easy at all. And I'm with you. I don't see this being a short series whatsoever.
I think the other part here is, how do the young guys handle this? Do they get to step in and go, we did this last year in the AHL, we're fine? Or do the lights get a little bit big for guys like McMichael and LaPierre and, Alexi Protas, those types of players? Does that kind of catch up to them? The other part of this, too, is the defense core. Does Nick Jensen play? Does Rasmus Sandin play? Do those guys step into the lineup and give them a boost if they can't go game 1? Do they go game 2, 3, or 4 and give them a boost on the blue line? Because that's honestly where the Capitals' weakest position is, the blue line right now. They're banged up, and they have young guys that they're relying on. So it's going to be playing smart. And the key to that, by the way, John Carlson, he needs to keep playing the way he's been playing, and he's going to be the key to this whole entire series, most likely. He's going to put in 30 minutes of ice time every night.
I do think, I'm with you on, muck it up.
Yep.
And if we're in the third period and both teams have shots in the teens, that's good, because that's really been kind of a secret here over the last couple of weeks, especially against teams that can't outskate them, like Toronto's of the world, that they just can't keep up with. And I think the Rangers, while they have more speed, are not that.
Yeah.
So I think that they can get into a situation like this. However, what I have noticed, and they are getting away with these wins, they're not generating any penalties because they're not taking a lot of chances.
That's right. Correct.
So short of the other team making some kind of mistake, on some play and gifting them a power play, I do think it's going to be necessary to try to generate a couple of calls, to try to get a couple of power plays, because they're going out of their way to be defensive and not score very much, which puts them on a tightrope.
Yeah.
And I feel like in the playoffs, you've got to get some extra man advantages, and that will give them the opportunities to maybe get on the board, put the Rangers in a hole. So I think that they're going to have to be a little looser. Maybe they'll play out game 1 and see how it goes. But I think over the course of the series, they're going to have to play a little bit looser to try to generate a few calls, however they get to them. If Wilson goads them into one, whatever they may do, they got to do something to get it, because the one power play a game path is typically not going to work for a team that doesn't score very much.
Right.
They've got to generate some calls, I think.
They're going to try to do that, and the only unfortunate part is it's the playoffs, and the Rangers are probably going to not want to even try to risk that too. I'm sure Laviolette's telling them, if we don't give them any power plays, we're going to beat them, pretty easily, most likely too. So they're going to try to play smart. I'm with you, though. They have to cash in on those opportunities. You're going to need guys like Oshie to step up on the bumper where he normally plays. You're going to need Ovechkin to nail his chances from the office. Yeah, that's what's going to be kind of crazy, and I can already tell it's going to be nerve-wracking for all of us. The Caps have to cash in on their chances because there's not going to be a lot of them. So, we'll see how they handle it all.
All right, take a quick break. Nicole Barnhart, the netminder of the Washington Spirit, is going to join us next. Bram, watch the show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. Tomorrow down at Audi Field, the Spirit are going to play Gotham, who is the defending champions of the NWSL. They're asking for a blackout out at Audi Field, and they've got another very special thing that they're announcing, which is for the first time they're selling jerseys of goalkeepers, which sounds crazy to say that, but it is the first time.
Yep.
So earlier today, I had a chance to catch up with one of the elder statesmen of the league, Nicole Barnhart, who's been playing professional soccer for over 20 years and is one of the primary backups with the Spirit. And here was that conversation. All right, let's welcome in Nicole Barnhart, goalkeeper for the Washington Spirit. Good to see you. How are you?
Good to see you. I'm doing well, thank you.
Big match this weekend.
Huge match.
Yes, huge match this weekend. What can you tell us about this one for the Spirit?
I think it's an exciting one for us. Obviously, we are still early in the season and still building on a lot of things, but to have an opportunity to come against an opponent like this, early on, it's a really good test for us, see where we are to get to play against them at home. I think is a big help, and it'll be a really good competitive game, I think.
Yeah, defending champs, familiar faces over there, so this is a really interesting one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's two really talented teams coming together, two teams that try to play, that can play, so it's going to be competitive. I think it's going to be some really good soccer, and I'm excited for it.
Yep. You have an interesting start to the season, too, here, 3-1. Great start for the Spirit after the first loss, 3 in a row. What's been the key to success so far over the last few weeks?
I think the biggest thing for us is just continuing to grow week in, week out, look at where we need to improve in each game. It's a lot of just fine little details that we need to build on and get better on, and just knowing that it is going to be a process. We have a lot of new faces, new coach, new style play, new system, so we knew coming into it that it was going to take some time to really build on that and grow into the team that we want to. But I think you're seeing glimpses of it each week, and we continue to get better each week. Yeah,
it's working early here. Like, what's been the key so far? What do you think's been going so right with all of the newness that's happening around here?
I think the biggest thing is just trusting each other, trusting the process, and understanding that it's not going to be perfect right now, but use those moments to just have good reactions when things aren't going well or mistakes are made, and just continuing to build and improve week in, week out, and try to play our style as much as possible.
All right, let's talk about an initiative that's going on that's really cool. That probably when people hear this initially, they're going to think, I can't believe this hasn't happened before. But for the first time, goalkeeper jerseys are going to be available to be purchased, which almost sounds ridiculous saying it at this point, but it's true. So I think for you, who've been around the game for so long, this is probably, I don't know, how do you feel about that when you hear that's actually happening and someone can buy your jersey for once?
Yeah, I think you can just say finally. It's long overdue. I've been having fans, friends, family, players I've coached from season 1 asking, for my jersey off my back because they didn't have the opportunity to purchase it from anywhere. So the demand has been there from season 1 and has continued to grow. I think with the growth of the sport and the game and women's soccer, with how well the national team has built out the game, the demand's even there more than it was initially. So I think fans finally have their opportunity to support their favorite player on the field.
It sounds crazy that it's like taken this long, but I guess it's another really small sign of the growth of the sport around the country too.
Yeah, it's definitely a sign of the growth of the sport, the country and around the world. I think you saw Mary Earps, being the first one to really push this initiative to get goalkeeper jerseys for the women out there and available. And I think it was a missed opportunity, in all honesty, over all these years of not having it. But to finally see it there, it's very exciting, and I think it is showing where this game is going and how much support and demand there is for women's soccer and women's sports.
And a long time coming for you. What year is this for you professionally? Is this 20? Is that where you are?
Basically around 20. This is my 12th in NWSL and then a couple years in WPS, and obviously playing for the national team before that. So it's been fun. Can't complain.
Yeah. Why are you still doing it into your 40s? How are you still doing it into your 40s?
I love the game. I think that's the biggest part of it. I have so much fun every day out there in the field. I love what I do. I think it's the best job in the world. And I think another big part of it is just continuing to help grow the game and push it forward and make it better for those that are coming after me.
What's your role here now? How do you kind of define what you mean to the Spirit moving forward?
I think obviously just a veteran leader. I have a lot of years of experience, some more years than some of these people have been alive. So I think it's just kind of taking all my knowledge of the game, experience of the game, and helping the team however I can, whether it's sharing what I'm seeing, helping the new players, grow and adjust to professional life, because it's very different from the collegiate game.
Yeah.
And just offering up whatever I can, in my role on and off the field, training every day, in the locker room, out of the locker room, away from the facility, just being the best teammate I can, really.
Yeah, it must have been interesting for you. I mean, the team changed kind of the look and feel of the team. There's a lot of young players here, a lot of rookies on this team. Even to your point, a couple of them are running around in practice. I'm watching them. They weren't born when you were playing initially. It must be really, I don't know how you feel about all of that as you kind of matriculate through your career here.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's exciting. You need some of that more veteran leadership, but it's just showing how much the game is growing and how much young talent there is out there, this day and age. So you're seeing it from our rookie class on the field, how much impact they're having game in and game out, and players starting, players coming off the bench. So I think it's a really exciting thing for the league. I think it's a really exciting thing for our team here, and it's just part of the process and the growth of where this team wants to get to.
All right, last thing. I mean, since you've been around women's professional sports for so long, I just want to get your kind of feeling about what's happening with women's sports, not just soccer, but women's sports. We've seen this phenomenon with Caitlin Clark and like what she has brought to the WNBA, what she brought to the NCAA women's tournament. There's been a massive change in television rights for the NWSL. You guys moved into, you've seen it all. You've moved into Audi Field. You see the crowds that are showing up. You've kind of lived the professional arc of women's sports. What are you thinking and feeling in seeing kind of this change in the promotion of women's sports?
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome to see. I've lived, where you play games and there's a couple hundred fans there and that's it. Or, we're playing in people's backyards and they don't even know the team exists. So I think a lot of it comes down to just, the marketing, spending money to market, just the awareness. I've always kind of joked with women's soccer. Once you get someone out to a game to actually see it, they're usually hooked. Yeah. And they continue to come back. And it was just giving people those opportunities to see the game. And now with, all the different media rights, marketing, advertising, everything else that's being put into the game, people have a lot more awareness and they know it exists, and that demand for the game is growing in women's sports in general. So I think it's just giving people the opportunity to know it's there and then see it and love it and want to keep coming back and being a part of it.
So is any part of you surprised by everything that's happened, specifically over the last couple of years? Or did you think this was natural, that this would happen at some point?
I think we all knew it would happen. It was just a matter of when and how long it would take to finally get there. I think it's going to continue to take off, in all honesty, but it's been really exciting to be a part of this process and, be there when it wasn't very popular and people weren't coming to games to support it. And now seeing, stadiums and NWSL selling out week in, week out, and just how much excitement there is about the game and the league and the players in this league. So I'm loving it.
Yep. It's a big one, too, this weekend. Gotham and the Spirit, Saturday, 1 o'clock, Audi Field blackout. So we're asking the fans to show up in a blackout. Should be a really good test for the Spirit here early in the season. Nicole, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Bram. Appreciate it.
All right, that's Nicole Barnhart. We'll take a quick break. John Keim is next, where we will ask him, will Jayden Daniels accept being the number 2 overall pick? Bram watch the show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. All right, welcome back. Bram watch the show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. Let's welcome in John Keim from ESPN. John Keim Report, 6 days away from the NFL Draft. You and me have, I believe, the same feeling about this. These 6 days cannot go fast enough. I want this over with badly because we've just ad nauseum talked about it, and I assume you feel the same way, correct?
Yeah, but Bram, I have to hold on one second because Jayden Daniels' cat just tweeted something, so I got to go cover that.
All right. Well, since you brought him up, because he is the news of the day. All right. Let me go. Let me ask you the top line question, because there's a lot of Adam Schefter just said, like, from the get go, like, that it's known that maybe Jayden Daniels wants to be other places than Washington. What is just your current understanding of how he feels about his draft positioning and places he may want to go?
So, I mean, the notion that he doesn't want to be here, I think, is incorrect. I talked to somebody close to him a few days ago. It was like there were a couple places that they felt like would be good for him, and one of them was Washington. So that's what I'm going to fall back on. And what I also know is that there's another team out there angling to move up to get him, and that's the Raiders. So we know that. So who's going to stand to benefit from certain rumors coming out? And the other thing I know is that Joe Burrow apparently didn't want to go to the Bengals either, and guess where he went? So irrelevant to me what any of that, and not about Adam, but just about like any of the stuff like that. It's just, to me, it's irrelevant. And if they want him, they're going to take him. Yeah.
In the Burrow case, the Bengals made it very clear they were just going to select him, like it or not. In Caleb Williams' case, it's clear, like whatever his true feelings are about it, the Bears are selecting him. Like that's happening. But, there are other teams like the Steelers and Mike Tomlin who comes out and says things like, we don't have hostages here. So I do wonder how that plays if they intimate whatsoever to the Washington, ownership and front office that, maybe we'd want to be somewhere else, how that would play with them.
Yeah, and I don't think that's what's happening. So that's something I just don't think it's a worthy enough discussion in my mind to even, ruminate on it, because I don't think nothing I've heard suggests that. So
Okay.
That's what I say. Like, I think it's, I don't think it's a relevant conversation to what could happen. I think that, I have not heard anything from there to suggest like, oh, if he doesn't want to come here, then screw him and, whatever. I don't get that sense at all. So I don't think that that's going to be an issue here.
Okay.
I think you're going to get more stuff that maybe, again, I think there's a team that really, really, really would like to move up and get him, and that's the Raiders. So follow the noise.
Okay. All right, then explain to me where your position is on the agent for Jayden Daniels basically co-signing tweets questioning the process by which the Commanders conducted their 30 visits, which included quarterbacks all hanging out together at Topgolf.
Right. My understanding is it was more about maybe not realizing that all four were going to be there at the same time more than it was anything else. And I would also say this again, I think whatever he thinks about it is irrelevant. And, it sounds like when Jayden was there that he was interacting well and having a good time. So I think that's just, again, ignore the noise. And that, to me, is part of the noise. And as Ron Rivera used to say, it's interesting. I don't think it's important.
Okay.
Because, what his agent tweets has no bearing unless the agent tweets that, Dan Quinn and Adam Peters are, scumbags. Like, short of that, like, I don't think what he tweets is going to matter. Like, he's not going to be a huge factor in this entire process of Jayden Daniels' career as a player. Like, he obviously will guide him and, be his agent, but, there are times where agents are not heavily involved. So I just don't think that's a factor at all.
Okay. But, the perception is he's saying something on behalf of his client, and whether he intended to do so or not, that's why we're talking about it today. Because he did do that. And that's why I'm like, I didn't understand the motivation of doing it, especially if that's not how his client feels about it. He just caused more trouble for his client than it was worth.
Yeah, but I, and that's fine. My understanding is, like, I do think it came up when he was visiting, and, it was asked, explained, moved on. And
okay.
So I just don't, if it just, like I said, I just think these are non-issues. I really do. Based on, and talking to other people in the league, I think this is very much a media talking point,
sure,
more than anything else. And which I understand, like, we're all in the media, but I don't think it carries the weight that maybe some feel it does. Like, I've had people say to me, like, oh, this, you can't take him. There's another red. It's not like, we don't know what Jayden Daniels thinks about this. And yes, he works for the player, but Jayden is 24 and just getting an agent. It may take him a minute to realize, like, oh, he works for me. Do you know what I mean? Like, not a lot of these guys. A lot of these guys are going to be very trustworthy of someone in doing it because they've done it a lot longer than where Jayden Daniels is in this position, right? So I think, I just don't assume that Jayden Daniels is sitting there saying, you got to tweet this out, or this is what, you know what I mean? I don't know. I can't say that's even true. I don't know that. And nobody has told me that. So I operate by what I know, which is the agent tweeted it out. We don't know, I mean, like I said, I was told that I've been told that he wants to play, that he would absolutely play here. And, but there are other places I think would make sense for him too. The Raiders were one, Minnesota would be another one.
Yeah.
So I just don't think that Emojigate will play a factor in this. And, I think one thing with Adam Peters is look at the organization he's come from, New England, Denver, San Francisco. Like, they shut out the noise, when he was there, right? I just don't. Yeah. I don't think the last few years that they shut out the noise enough. But I think he realizes like this isn't important.
Yeah, I mean, I'll read it. I've talked about this a lot on the air. I talked about it with you too. I don't know what they're going to do. Like they are beyond leak proof about this decision. And it's amazing that we're 6 days out, and I feel like it's 50-50. It could go either way between May or Daniels at this point.
Yeah, and I'm not convinced that it's just. I am definitely not convinced that J.J. McCarthy isn't in the equation here. Definitely not convinced of that. So I would throw him in there too. So yeah, I mean, I still think it'll be Jayden Daniels, but I nothing would shock me, including McCarthy somehow ending up here. I just think at 2, it still seems a little bit rich for him, but that's why I think Jayden.
I don't know this group well enough to know whether perception matters to them all that much, or they're just going to be convicted. But I will tell you, and I think you know this to be true, if J.J. McCarthy is the selection at number 2, it better turn out to be the right selection, because the reaction to it, I don't think amongst the fan base is going to be particularly great, honestly.
Oh, I would agree with that. And, I would definitely agree with that. But I don't think they care about perception. I just don't. I mean, I think, we saw this during the coaching search too. Like the perception was, get an offensive guy and like there are a lot of people who I think maybe in the old ownership regime, they would have gone a different way just because, maybe the fan base won't like this. So I don't think they're going to operate that way. If they feel like that's the guy, I think they take him. And, and like they put a lot more into this than I have. So yeah, I don't, I mean, there are clearly traits of J.J. McCarthy. And as an Ohio State fan, it pains me to say this. I mean, he was a guy that he wanted to go to Ohio State. They chose Kyle McCord over him. So, I can't blame him. But as an Ohio State guy, like I see traits that would appeal to me as an NFL coach. However, I think Jayden Daniels has more. That's why I think ultimately he's the pick. But I think if I know Adam Peters said they're going to stay put at 2, or barring some unforeseen thing. But if they traded back a couple spots, then I think it probably would be JJ. But I think at 2 it would be JJ.
Well, traded back a couple spots. The Raiders don't afford them that opportunity. Minnesota does not afford them that opportunity. So exactly. that's why I think he's saying unforeseen.
Correct.
What the Raiders would offer them would have to be so astronomically ridiculous, because they're not going to get their quarterback if they make a deal with them.
I don't think you trade back that far. I think if again, he said he's not, but let's say something pops up last second, I'm not moving more than a couple spots down.
Correct.
Period. So yeah, that's why, and only like if they, let's say for example, they wanted JJ after Jayden, then you got to make sure that you're going to be in position to get that guy. So, but yeah, I see him staying at 2 and taking it.
So do I. Okay. All right. Let's talk about then the second and third round where they have 5 picks. They obviously need to address left tackle. I think it's a priority. Are you in the camp that you think they may trade back into the first round? Where are you on how they're going to kind of deal with tackle?
Clearly that's a possibility. One thing I do know, there's a couple things with that. Like from the analytics standpoint, trading back up for like that is not always the best way to go. It's, you want more picks rather than giving them up. And, what you'll hear a lot of times, a lot of times you'll hear like, okay, well, the difference between like the 6th tackle and the 8th or 9th tackle is not as great as people think. So, but you do need a tackle, and there are some good tackles available. So, like, yes, I could see them doing that, but I only say that to say, like, it's very possible there's some tackles who may be there with the 36th pick who are capable of going right in and playing. And, like, then it depends on a beauty in the eye of the beholder. Like, there's a guy like Roger Rosengarten. So he's a guy that I've heard some people like him at the end of the first, maybe, and some people in the third. So there's a wild swing on him. And then it's like, do you view him as a left tackle or a right tackle, which he played? I think he played both in college, but more right. So, how do you view him in the NFL? And so, but if a guy like that is there and they like him, then you could go. Jordan Morgan's another guy that they brought in that could be there. And I think Amarius Mims, would be another guy I'd throw on that list. Does he fall enough, and could you go up and get him? That's where, and then it's like, Bram, how much are you giving up to go up and get them? But yes, I can see it, but, I think it depends on there's going to be a run on tackles, obviously going to get some early, but is the second wave of the tackle run, when does that start? And then do you start to look, okay, now to get a guy, you may have to move up. They also were looking at some guys that maybe are more fourth, third, late second day projection, or maybe early third day projection, which tells me that maybe you want to get a right tackle as well, a guy to develop, whether for later in the year or for next year.
I don't think this is the one position, though, and I think they have a lot of holes to fill. But this is the one position where I just can't see a scenario by which they kick that can down the road. I don't.
No, I don't either. My thing is, maybe you get two tackles in this draft. You're not doing it you have to come out of there, whether it's with one of your first two picks in the second round, or like you said, by trading up. That you have to come up with a guy that can do it. And the good thing for this team is there's really good tackle depth in this class. And so you can, if you wanted to stay at 36, you could stay there and possibly get a guy who can come in and start. But then it's like, okay, maybe you like three guys and two of them go. Now maybe, late in the first, now maybe you got to trade up. And so I think that's where it's a possibility for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. I'm definitely with you. You have to get that guy. But then, like I said, maybe you add another tackle in the fourth round or so to develop for next year or later this year to replace Wiley on the right side.
Now, they have a lot of draft capital. And I think they're going to get a quarterback. I think they're going to use one of those high second-round picks one way or the other on a tackle, whether they stay there or use some other draft capital to move up and get them. So then there's a second-round pick. And I could argue they need an edge rusher. I could argue they need a corner. I could argue that they need a tight end. So if you were to guess right now, what do you think the priority is for them to try to fill those spots?
I think edge or tight end would go there. And I say that because, again, you look at the top 30 visits and some of the guys they're bringing in, as edge guys, they're guys who would be more, at worst, high second-round picks, like Marshawn Nealand, Chop Robinson, who could go maybe higher in the first than people expect, but maybe he falls in the second. But those are guys that I could definitely see. And I know they signed 3 DNs, but only one of them got anything beyond a 1-year deal. And it's a spot, if you have a chance to fill another premium spot, that's the beauty of this draft for them. You could fill 3 or 4 premium positions when it comes to getting paid, like quarterback, left tackle, defensive end. If you can get cheap, good players for that for 4 or 5 years, you're in a really good spot with your cap. So that's where, for me, roster building and planning, that's where it would make sense. I think corners, the ones they looked at, more of the ones I think they looked at would be second, third round type guys. And they clearly, I'm with you, I think they definitely need 1 or 2. I'm not sold that Emmanuel Forbes is going to excel in this defense just because of coaching change. I think it's going to take more than that to get him going. I think, just him fixing his own technique or whatever. But I think tight end would definitely be on the list too. And I think tight end, so here's the other thing, Bram, maybe you could, let's say, if you wanted to, let's say they use a second and a third round pick to move up in the first. Maybe you take that second and move back a little bit and maybe still get one of those tight ends. So Jatavian DeSanders kid, or maybe Jared Wiley, both of them came in for visits. Eric All from Iowa, who had injuries, health issues. I think he's coming off an injury. I think it was an ACL. But he's a guy that they came in. They might be able to get him later in the draft. But had he stayed healthy, maybe he has a higher grade. So, but I definitely think you're going to come away with one because they want to use the tight ends. Zach Ertz is here for a reason, They do not have another. They want another pass catcher that they can count on. Bates is a run blocker. Cole Turner, you can't count on that. And then I think Armani Rogers, while I liked him going into last year, he's got 4 or 5 career catches. This group is, if I'm them, I'm getting another guy. So, and if he develops, that's great. So I think that's where I would almost put it as D-end, tight end, cornerback.
Yeah, and it does feel like, again, and I think they need another starting corner, that might have to be addressed on the other side of the draft in that second wave of free agency. That's where that's going to have to be addressed.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. That's the thing that I think people sometimes overlook, and people meaning fans and media, because that's where they got Charles Leno a few years ago. And, I don't think you want to wait again on a left tackle. That was kind of a luxury one because I think, they could have could have maneuvered without him because they had Cosme and Morgan Moses. But Leno's a true left tackle. So, yeah, they got him there. So you could get maybe a right tackle there. Maybe, I don't know about a tight end, but maybe a cornerback for sure. Something like that. Because I'm with you. I think you need to get another guy. I'm not, like I said, I'm not sold that Forbes is going to develop the way they need him to. Do we have confidence that St. Juste will be that guy for them? I don't know. So I would get another one for sure, one way or another. But I think if I had to guess, it would be like third, maybe early fourth round was where they would do it. But we'll see. Okay.
All right. I'll let you go. We'll end where we started, which is, and I'm just going to make you make a pick right now. Who do you think they're going to take at number 2?
Spencer Rattler. Jayden.
Okay.
Yeah,
don't tell us, tweet that and see if his agent likes it. Find out.
Well, yeah. And listen, what I'm hoping is that nothing else, other stuff is going to come out, and this feels like it's before an election, for God's sake. Just sometimes you got to step back and what feels real, who stands to benefit from this information coming out, and take a deep breath. That's my word of advice to everybody listening.
Okay. All right. Well, have a nice weekend then.
Yeah.
And I'll talk to you next week. Thank you.
Thanks, Bram.
All right. That's John Keim from ESPN and the John Keim Report. We'll take a quick break. The legendary Gary Williams is going to join us next. Bram Washington Show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. All right, welcome back. We are waiting for Gary Williams to join us. Hopefully he'll call in a couple of minutes here, and we'll get him on the air the second he does. He's being honored tonight by the DC Touchdown Club, joining their Circle of Legends tonight. So hopefully we'll get a chance to talk to Gary. In the meantime, a couple quick things that are going on here locally. The Wizards did announce today that Brian Keefe, who is the interim coach, is going to return to the Wizards staff, and I guess will be interviewed to potentially be the head coach, but there is a search that will be ongoing for the permanent head coach, and so we'll see how that one materializes. And we'll get back into that in a minute as Gary Williams, legendary coach from the University of Maryland, joins us now. He's being honored tonight as part of the Circle of Legends from the DC Touchdown Club, an event I'll be attending later tonight. Gary, thanks for the time today. Great to talk to you.
Yeah, great talking with you, Bram.
So, you've won 8 million awards. You're in Hall of Fames. What's this one mean to you tonight?
Well, I've lived here. I came here in '89 after going to school here in the '60s. So, this has kind of been my home. I've moved a few times in coaching, but basically I consider this my home. So it's always really nice, especially, with what the Touchdown Club does for our soldiers and things like that. So it's just great to be a part of it.
What's your message tonight? What do you want to tell people about service and all of the things that are associated with this movement?
Well, these people are the real heroes. We do a lot of things for a lot of people in this country, which are great. But the people that defend our country, I think they should be, right up there in terms of who gets what. And I'm not sure we always do as much as we should do. So this is an opportunity to hopefully get some exposure and, where people can really see the benefits of this program.
So, all right. So the NCAA tournament just ended. I assume in this day and age with all the changes in the sport, you don't miss coaching that much. Would that be Would that be true with all the things you'd have to deal with these days?
Well, I mean, I miss the basketball part of it. It seems like nowadays there's more things that you have to deal with that aren't really connected to basketball. But if you like coaching and you like college coaching, then you would do it, just so that you can, be a part of things. But I think you'll see, with the way players are getting played, and it's legal now, and the transfer portal and things like that. If you have the opportunity, I think you would see more college coaches, if they got the opportunity to go to the pros, they might make that decision. Where before, I mean, I never even considered it. I was a college coach, and that's what I was. And I really liked it, really enjoyed it, and the camaraderie, and that's the other thing. You miss the 4-year period with your players. You get some guys, they're 18, they're really struggling, and all of a sudden, by the time they're 22 and seniors, they're men. Well, you don't get to enjoy that very often now in college with the makeup of your team.
Were you ever? You must have been approached to be a pro coach, right? You had to have been at some point in your career.
Yeah, I got a couple feelers, I guess you would call them, but I never really considered it. I felt very fortunate to coach where I did, and it was kind of like I look forward to that every year of, your team, if you could develop your team, the competition you played against in the ACC, the Big East, and the Big Ten. Well, when I was coaching, they were all the best coaches in the country. So you got a shot to take that on. And, if you're a competitor and you like basketball, you enjoyed that. It was just a great opportunity to coach against the best. And I had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah. So I'm sure you saw this, that the state of Virginia just passed a law that is going to allow their schools to literally pay players, which I think is probably an expected outcome from what's been going on over the last couple of years since NIL was approved. Do you expect that to be commonplace throughout the country, that more laws like that are going to come?
I would think hopefully that might give schools more control over what's going on now. I mean, there's guys out there that are pretty good players, put themselves in the portal and say, I'm not going anywhere for less than $1.5 million. Well, I don't think that's the point. I mean, the NCAA 30 years ago could have really helped this situation by allowing football and basketball scholarships to be more than just room board tuition, because it doesn't put any money in anybody's pocket. And a lot of these kids, they come on a college campus, they just don't have the wherewithal to be a normal student. A lot of times they have to take up, special courses to catch up, from their educational perspective. So I would think if that ever was, it'll be interesting if that goes national, if anybody goes after that, appeals that type of thing, which happens nowadays. But, I mean, you look at it now, and it's you're looking at the NFL and the NBA with salary caps and the NCAA with no salary cap. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, it makes no sense.
Do you see a day where football just kind of separates and becomes its own thing, and then maybe the other sports can get more regionalized and maybe slow down this matriculation of all these schools going all these different places?
Well, I think you're seeing it in football. They've kind of, with the football playoffs, they've kind of pulled away. The NCAA gets none of that money. That money is given to, it's provided by the teams in the playoffs and their conferences. So that's already taken place. Basketball, the NCAA still has control of the men's basketball tournament in terms of TV rights. As long as they have that, then the NCAA will be a part of that. But at some point, the progression, the way things look like right now, it looks to me like basketball and football will be separate, and the other sports, hopefully they can be funded by the success of football and basketball. But it looks like there's going to be a lot of autonomy for basketball in the future at the college level.
Yeah, I'm not against, obviously, the players making money. I'm glad we've come to the point where that can happen for them, but it does seem to be the priority, and it seems very Wild West with everybody moving teams and changing. And I think back to like your teams that were extremely successful in the 90s and early 2000s. And I still have, as a fan of the Maryland Terrapins, a connection with people like Joe Smith and Juan Dixon and Steve Blake and all these players that played here over a period of time. Do you think coaches can sell staying somewhere and making a legacy in one place for 3 to 4 years? Or is it all about what the money you can get wherever it may come from?
Right now, I'd say for 95% of the players, it's all about money. And that goes down to the mid-majors where they do a good job of recruiting a kid. He comes, he's better than people thought he was. He has a great freshman year. He's gone. That's it. He's gone someplace that has a bigger NIL situation than where he came from. And unfortunately, that's where it is right now. It's going to be, we're only talking 3-4 years here. What's it going to look like 5 years from now?
Yeah.
Nobody knows. So there's no coach that can tell you what it's going to look like. And it's just gotten to the point where you see it all the time. Kids, the figures that have been thrown around, and I know a couple of them, and they're right. And it's just incredible what they're getting to play probably for 1 year at a school. And going back to your original point, Bram, very few people could name the starting five of anybody but their school. Say, okay, I went to Maryland, I can name the starting five for Maryland. But you tell me the starting five by September of Connecticut, for instance, who won the national championship.
Yeah.
Nobody knows who their starting five is going to be. And I think that takes away from the fans across the country that want to get behind a school. It's very difficult for them. It's one thing while you're in school or whatever. That's your team. It doesn't matter who's playing or whatever. That's your team. But, when you want to follow somebody, you'd like to know a little bit about some of the players on the team.
Yeah, maybe that's part of the rise of women's basketball now too. I don't know. Maybe I'd like to hear your take on Caitlin Clark and how she kind of touched a nerve with everybody to kind of almost take the sport with her to a new level. But at the same time, there were a lot of players on a lot of teams that people had suddenly started to get accustomed to because they were there, and I think that was important for that sport too.
Yeah, I think. You have to realize it's two different sports. It's men's basketball and women's basketball are two different sports. And just like lacrosse is two different sports with men and women, and softball and baseball are two different sports because it's a different physical game. But it's women's basketball, Caitlin Clark and girls like Reese and people like that, they're fun to watch. And I think that was the appeal, and also the fact that they were there. They're 4-year players in college, and you get a chance to, Caitlin Clark. Who knew who Caitlin Clark was when she was a freshman?
Yeah.
So if she plays 1 year, maybe none of this happens. If she went to the WNBA after 1 year, do you think any of this attention would have happened, or 50% of it? It's really interesting what she did for the women's game, and there's got to be a way for the WNBA to embrace that. They've got like 3 or 4 players coming out that are stars. They've been TV stars this year, and now's a chance. And it reminds me when Bird and Magic came out in '79 after they played against each other in the NCAA championship game. That just changed the NBA. The NBA was struggling when they came out. So, it's a great opportunity for women's basketball. There's no doubt about it. And hopefully the powers that be take advantage of it.
Okay, I'll let you go on this. Just your general state of the Maryland basketball program. Where do you see it going from here?
Well, I think they're in good shape. They've done what everybody else does now. They've signed their guys. They're getting ready to go. And people forget the first year Kevin Willard was there. That was a great year. They won a game in the NCAA tournament. They were undefeated at home. Last year was tough, no doubt about it. But you're going to see more ups and downs, I think, because you depend on getting guys out of the transfer portal, and you never know how they're going to adjust to a new place, a new coach, all those things. So I think with a couple local kids now, I guess there's 4 or 5 local players on Maryland's team. At least they have a feel for the area. They have a feel for the fan base in this area. And I think Kevin's, in a good position going into next year.
Gary, thank you so much for the time. I look forward to seeing you tonight. Congratulations on the honor of being inducted into the Circle of Legends from the DC Touchdown Club. We appreciate your time today.
Thanks, Bram. Thanks for having me on.
All right,
Appreciate it.
that's Gary Williams, who you can actually hear here on ESPN 630 during the basketball season. Their show just ended. He's part of the DC Coaches show. They just had their last episode of the season after the NCAA tournaments had completed. They'll be back hopefully in the fall. All right, we'll take a quick break and we'll preview the NBA and the NHL playoffs with Jeez, I can't speak anymore.
What the hell happened there?
I don't know. My brain doesn't work.
What's going on,
My brain is not working the same way that it used to. They both start this weekend in earnest. We'll talk about that next.
What a tease.
If I could just stop stumbling. Bram Weinstein Show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. Everyone, hi everyone. Let's see. The Wizards have started a lot of changes.
The purge.
The purge has begun. Brian Keefe, the interim coach, is going to be back. That was announced today. And David Vanderpool is going to be back. Mm-hmm. Keefe, I guess, is going to interview to remain the permanent head coach. However, they've said there's going to be a search. So this is an unusual thing. If they hire someone else and then they place these assistants on with that other coach, that's always kind of wonky and weird, but I guess the Wizards have their path. And so that it feels like that's the direction they're going. Otherwise, they'd be like, well, I don't know, maybe they will hire him. Who knows? We'll see.
I mean, they played really hard under him.
Did.
I mean, like I did.
Super smart.
I mean, so either way, I guess it means that he's at peace too. I guess if he doesn't get the head coaching gig, that he's okay with being an assistant again, or
I don't know.
Like
he's been that way forever.
Yeah,
he seems like he's one of those lifers that just loves it.
Right, exactly. So that's where I was kind of like, okay, I guess you're comfortable doing anything.
Right.
So.
But it's not like they went 32-8 with him as the head coach either.
Right.
So,
right. No, for sure.
In fairness, I didn't think they would. But like
you didn't see the winger stat on how. Hold on, I got to pull this up for you because it was. It was full spin zone on this one. Hold on. I got to find it. It was some stat where it was like, here we go. He was doing his press conference, and Chase Hughes tweeted this out from him. Just follow me here. Monumental Basketball president Michael Winger says the Wizards won roughly 40% of their quarters and halves in the second half of the season.
Yeah.
Quote, it's not a full game, he made clear, but he believes it was one sign of them being more competitive as the year went on.
You know what? Like, I hear what he's saying. Like, the first half of the year under Wes was really bad, like embarrassingly bad. And then they were generally competitive, but their team isn't good enough to win. So I'll hear that out, and they were more watchable and they were in most games. And then every once in a while they'd get run off the court again. But that's what happens to bad teams. They get run off the court every once in a while.
My question there, though, is there are a lot of those games where they were down by 30 going into the third or fourth quarter.
And those shouldn't count.
They're going to score more than the other team because their third string is in at that point. So that's where I'm kind of like.
That's true.
Before we're going to get into these niche stats, can we get some context here, too?
He also said something. I saw something where he basically was like, Jordan Poole really turned his season around. Yeah. And he called it kind of inspiring to watch.
Got emotional,
I agree. I agree. Like, I was like, oh, man, like this guy's lost it.
Second coming of Nick Young and JaVale McGee.
Is why he cannot be traded because he is not a professional basketball player right now. He's just doing ridiculous things. And that did change.
Yes.
It really did. And so that was nice to see as well because he's got to get everything back together, whether he's part of the future or not. To make him tradable, he has to play like a professional basketball player again.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he did. A lot of things changed. And I think this Brian Keefe guy deserves a lot of credit for that. He really settled everything down, made them competitive again. By the end of the year, the team looked like they liked playing with each other amid a bad season. Yeah. Denny got better, grew. So I think that there are some good things there.
Did you hear or see Kuzma's tweet the other day?
No.
He was DC. I'm going to be here. Tell me where the best brunch spots are because he's actually staying.
I think he opened a restaurant too.
I saw that it was like I think it's a cafe vibe.
Yeah, somewhere in Virginia.
Or it's here. No, it's downtown. I want to say it was on U Street.
He likes Peter. I love it. I love DC.
But no, it's the first summer he said he's staying here. He's not going.
It's like Milan when I wear my fancy clothing.
What was that voice? I don't even know what that was.
That's Kuzma in Milan.
Is that Zoolander? Like that's
I don't know.
That's a little...
Yeah, I don't know.
What are we doing? You're losing your mind over there today. Yeah. No, but I think that's good because I was actually talking with someone about this earlier in the week about how, we were discussing about how the makeup of this team, you like certain makeups where like when Gil was the leader, you liked the makeup of him and Karan and Antoine. When John was the leader, you liked them in the city.
Yeah.
When Brad was the leader, no go.
No.
That wasn't our thing.
No.
Now, though, it seems like with Poole and even Kuzma, you're starting to like the makeup more of the team. They're not winning, obviously, but you're like, all right, we can roll with those guys here.
Yeah.
So.
Let's see. NBA playoffs and NHL playoffs begin this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go through it a little bit. We don't know who Boston is playing yet. They're either going to get the Bulls or the Heat, but the Heat are without Jimmy Butler.
Right.
So this is an either way. The Celtics will win in 5. They will beat the Bulls in 5, or if the Heat somehow win tonight without Jimmy Butler, they will beat them in 5 because they don't have the requisite people to win.
Exactly.
So that one's a bye. Knicks will start a series with the 76ers. Ooh, daddy. This is all about whether Embiid can kind of make it through what should be a long series here, and whether he's conditioned enough to do that, and if he's healthy enough to do that. And if he is, give me the 76ers in 6. And if he's not, give me the Knicks in 6. How about that?
I'll go just straight up Knicks in 7.
Okay.
No matter what happens.
All right. We've got Milwaukee and Indiana. Giannis isn't playing. Indiana, baby. Indiana in 6.
You have to.
Indiana in 6. Cavaliers Magic. Because of that song, I feel differently about the Magic now. I like it, and I want to hear them play it when they win. I think the Cavaliers will win this series. They were separated by a game in the regular season, and Banchero is very good.
Yeah.
Cleveland in 7. How about that? Give me Cleveland in 7.
I'll go Cleveland in 6.
Okay. Oklahoma City is going to play the winner of Sacramento and New Orleans, but Zion isn't playing tonight, which would lead you to believe it would be Sacramento. If Zion's hurt, they got no shot against the Thunder in a series. So if they win tonight, Oklahoma City easily. Oklahoma City in 5. If Sac wins, then I assume it's a long series, and I'm not going to pick a 1-8 upset, but I bet Oklahoma City is taken to 6 or 7 by them. So that wouldn't say. I think if Sacramento wins tonight, which they probably will, it's going to be a longer series. They can score a lot of points. They'll probably squeeze out a couple of wins because of just high-scoring games. So I got Oklahoma City winning, but not easily. If they get the Pelicans, they probably win in 5 if Zion's not going to play in it.
Yeah, I'll go Thunder against whoever in 6.
Denver Lakers. Ooh. I mean, that's must-see TV, frankly. Anthony Davis is healthy, right?
Is he? I don't know.
Denver, God, they got a lot of complaining about a team that went 57-25. Maybe Denver in 5.
I'll go 6. I'll give the Lakers 2.
So you're saying Denver will win on the road game 6 to win knockabout. I'll go Denver in 5. I bet you this is. I think they handle them. Minnesota Phoenix. Oh, daddy. Oh, I like that one. The West playoffs in the first round are good.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Minnesota Phoenix. Oh. Minnesota in 7.
Oh.
Yeah. And saying that out loud, picking them to win game 7 over Durant and Booker and Beal seems really stupid. So actually, if they get to 7, give me Phoenix. Minnesota in 6.
I'll go Suns in 7.
Okay. I wouldn't be surprised. Clippers, Mavs. Give me the Mavericks. I think Luke has been really coming on here late. Kyrie's a little irked he's not in the Olympics. The Clippers, I mean, Kawhi is never totally healthy, and Harden no-shows 3 games every year in the playoffs. Mavericks in 6.
I'll go Mavericks 7.
I mean, they're separated by 1 game in the regular season.
I'll go Mavericks in 7.
Mavericks, okay. Let's see. As for the NHL playoffs, here we go, Jim. Let's see what we got. I'll do Rangers Caps last.
Okay.
Carolina is taking on the Islanders. Carolina, I think, scores too much there. Give me Carolina in 6.
Carolina's the juggernaut, so yes. That Carolina win. I would go Carolina in 5.
Let's see. I don't have because the standings don't match how they're set up.
You want me to run through it? I have the bracket.
It's Florida and Boston, correct?
No, it's Florida and Tampa. It's the first time they're ever playing each other.
Florida, Tampa. I will take Tampa Bay in 7 on that one.
I'll go Panthers in 6. Panthers have learned how to win no matter what the seed is. I think Tampa, it's all going to be about Kucherov. So give me the Panthers in this one.
So it means we get Boston, Toronto?
Yeah.
Wow. Toronto's never to be trusted.
Correct. Yes.
However, they're going to skate circles around those dudes.
They are, yeah.
So that's a long series. Toronto probably wins a couple games like 4-2, 5-2.
You might see both Toronto goaltenders, too, by the end of the series.
Toronto's not to be trusted. I will take Boston in 7, and they break their hearts, and those people in Toronto go completely nuts again.
I'm going to regrettably say Leafs in 7.
Okay. Let's see. Stars will be taking on the Golden Knights. That's a rough matchup. Stars, did they have the most points? No, the Rangers did.
The Rangers did. Rangers won the President's Trophy.
I don't know. I'm not. One scenes mean nothing in this league. Give me Dallas. I mean, how do you have a season like that and go out in the first round? I'll take Dallas.
Dallas is a better goaltender. Jake Ottinger's a beast. They're kind of ready to make the next step, but don't discount the Vegas Golden Knights. They know how to win, too. I'll go Dallas in 6 here.
Okay. Winnipeg has...
the Avalanche.
Colorado.
Yep.
Give me Colorado.
Yep.
Colorado in 6. Vancouver has...
the Predators.
Give me the Canucks. They're a very good team. I watched them a few times this year. They're a very, very, very good team. I'll take them over the Predators in 6.
I'll go Canucks in 7. Canucks in 7.
So that means we get Edmonton and the Kings.
And the Kings, yeah.
Edmonton is not going to go out in round 1. Give me Edmonton in 5 or 6. They score at such a crazy clip. Give me Edmonton in 5.
I'll go Edmonton at 7. I think they just make it interesting. They always make it interesting.
Okay. I don't have time to do the rest of it, but that's where we are. Oh, Caps and Rangers. Caps and Rangers. I'm not going to pick the series because I don't want to.
You're pulling a me over there.
I'm with you on this one. I think not saying what's going to happen feels like I might as well not put it out in the universe. I'm just going to let it happen.
You're freeballing
I will say this, though. I don't expect a short series. I do expect the Caps to at least win a couple of games. I think we're getting to Game 6 at least here, and then I hope we get to a Game 7 up in New York, and that gets them squeezing the sticks real tight up there, up in New York. So I expect a long series. I'm with you. I don't think we score a lot of goals, which means the Rangers really can't score a lot of goals. I'm hoping that the Capitals can generate some more power plays than they have in recent weeks by generating some calls to give themselves a shot to get more on the board than what I expect if they play them straight up. I think these are going to be a lot of low-scoring, close games. And, if they go out there and win in Game 1, I think they're going to the nerves are going to turn on New York fast up there if they can win on Sunday.
I'll give the vibe check for Sunday's game. I don't ever like the Caps in afternoon games, no matter if it's the playoffs or the regular season. So take that for what you want. I just hate them in afternoon games, always have, the Caps. Mm-hmm. So if they lose big on Sunday, nobody panic. No one, keep your composure in the locker room. And then they'll bounce back on Tuesday, most likely, with a way better effort. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Spirit get Gotham tomorrow. That's a good one at Audi Field. O's start a set at Kansas City. Nats are home against the Astros.
Yes.
And that's what's happening this weekend. And I'll talk to you all on Monday. Bram Washington Show, ESPN 630 at Sports Capital.